Thank you, Kathy. I believe everyone can now see my screen.
Awesome.
You know, folks, I'd like to start off by saying not only hugs and stitches to you all, but I have to tell you that one of the things I'm most excited about with this update is that of all the updates that we've released with Floriani Embroidery Suite, this update is more user-defined, meaning this is what you folks have asked for. I have owned probably every piece of software that's ever been developed, or almost every piece of software that's ever been developed for this embroidery industry. And it has always seemed to me that when updates have been developed for users of software, that they have never ever been necessarily what users need and have wanted. Look, we listen to you folks. Not only is this what we think can be better for you and your embroidery experience, but these are the things that you've asked for, and I am very proud of it. If my father were alive today, my father would be so proud of what you're about to see, because all he ever wanted to do, all we have ever tried to do as a family, and with R&K behind me as a company, is to bring you what it is that you want. So I'd like to start off by talking about some of the new features that we've now added to this update. I cannot take you through. Some of them are somewhat involved. There will be data that will be released to you showing you exactly how to go through every aspect. I'm going to show you some I'm going to talk about, probably more so than any of the design library. We just added a new design library to Floriani Embroidery Suite. You'll notice here down on the bottom right hand of the screen, you'll now see that it says Sequence View. Sequence View, of course, is when you bring a design up. Then I'll just go ahead and open a design. We'll bring a design up. We'll bring up my little tiger design. You'll see that when the sequence view is open, the sequence view is every color. As you open up, of course, every color, you get every aspect of that design within any given color. But right to the right of that now, you'll see Design Library. Look, this feature allows you to drag and drop designs directly into the software design page. We have been asked since day one to create a design library. We've done it for you folks. You also have the ability to add designs to an existing folder, create new folders, create subfolders, delete a design from folders. There will be an entire list of how-to instructions on it. But basically, let's talk about a few of them. Look, the design library is very handy. It allows you to quickly drop designs, your own designs into a project you're working on. You'll notice that there are folders right up here containing the designs already loaded in the library to get you started. But you also have the ability to create your own folders and load those designs you already own once inside of them. Once you've created your custom folders and added the designs to them, you're ready to drag and drop them into any design you are creating. If you don't want to create any new folders, you can simply add designs to the folders that already exist in the programs. There will be two sections to the design library. You have the folder section that contain the designs. It's located in the upper section of the library. You'll see that right here. You'll see by clicking on floral, I now get the floral designs, certainly the heart designs, the home deco designs, children, leprechaun designs, and so on. There's my sports designs down there. It's located, as I said, in the upper section. You'll then have the design viewer located just below the folders. The folders contain the designs you add to them. To access them and to view them, the designs quickly left mouse click on the folder. So you left mouse click on the folder. Let me go ahead and start a new design page. Okay. Once we now left click on the design folder, to bring any design now onto the screen, just click on that design, left click on it, pull it onto the screen, and release. That design is now on the screen, and voila, your design's now in your project. You know what? I want to talk about, while I will not have time to take you through every aspect, I would like to explain to you the features that indeed that you have when you're working within this new design folder. Number one, if you right-click inside the folder section, which is the upper section, you'll see that you now can create a new folder. You can now type the name of the folder you want to give the folder. You can simply click anywhere on your screen to apply the name. You're now ready to add design to the folder. You can add designs to any given folder simply by right mouse clicking and selecting Add Designs, which you'll find right here. Down here, you'll now be able to add designs to any given folder. Using the look in the drop-down box, you can navigate to the folder or drive on your computer that contains the designs you want to add and add to your folder. You can select the designs you want to add to the folder. You'll simply select Open. Once you have the designs selected, your designs are now inside the folder and ready to use. To view the designs in the folder, you'll simply select the folder again. Once you select the folder, simply left-click on the design that you want to bring in, and once again, I'll just hit New. Select the design, left-click, bring it into the screen, drag it into the screen, and now the design is in the screen. You'll have the ability to add a subfolder. You can left-mouse click on the folder where you want to create a subfolder. You can right-mouse click and create a new subfolder so you can create subfolders. You can rename folders, of course. You can delete folders. You can show the contents of any folders. You can refresh a folder. And now that you know what you can do with the folders of the section, you're pretty limitless. I am very, very proud of the new the design library. We've spent an enormous amount of time. This was indeed a request from a client in order to bring into the designs. Now, one of the features that I'm very, very excited about is a new feature calling Remove Overlaps. Many times when we're creating designs or when we're working or merging with designs, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll just bring up, let me go ahead and bring up, let's see what we've got here, a symbol. I'll go ahead and bring up my basketball design. You bring up the basketball design, bring up another design right on top of it, bring in another design right on top of it. Now, the challenge when you merge designs has always been this. You have the stitches left from the stitches of the design before underneath the stitches, hence creating what I've always called bulletproof embroidery. Again, look, my family's whole basis in this entire industry is making designs run better, making designs look better. So we've now created Remove Overlaps. Once you have merged designs on top of each other, and it's very important, number one, that designs are grouped. So what you do is when you select, and we'll now select with the Select button, we'll select on any one of the images. Now, if the image did not select in full, it would not be grouped. At that time, you would right-click, you would see that you could group, and you would click Group. These designs are already grouped. But now when you click and you see that the design is grouped, you simply click Remove Overlaps. And you see what happens when you remove overlaps. The design that was input before it will now remove all the stitches. By jumping over to the sequence view, I'll come in and I'm going to turn off, excuse me, I'll leave that one on. I'll turn off these next two colors, and you'll see that the stitches below were now removed. But let me explain. If you now want to remove the stitches for the design behind that, simply come to and select the next element or the next one, and once again, simply right-click and click Remove Overlaps, and it will now take those stitches out. It was an amazing advancement. I'm very, very proud of this. By being able to reduce or to eliminate those stitches, basically what we're attacking and what we're eliminating is bulletproof embroidery. I am so proud of this update. You know, on my last webinar that I did, I literally had a webinar dealing with editing, and I was so excited. It was the very first day that I had ever saw elements of this update, and I was so excited I broke away from protocol, and I pretty much showed what I'm showing you right now. But this is really, really quite amazing. My opinion, again, is by bringing you folks updates that are user desired, we're doing more for the industry than any other software company. I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very proud to be associated with R&K Distributing, giving me the ability, allowing me to do this. Now, a couple of other things having to do with fill stitches. Two of the things that we've now added to the fill stitch, and I'll go ahead and just create a new design. Of course, you create fill stitches by simply clicking on a complex fill. We'll go ahead, just put a fill stitch in here. Well, one of the things I'm now very proud of is that we've now given you the ability to use or to create stippling stitch. Normally using just a normal complex fill, create a complex fill just in the normal manner. The stipple stitch pattern can be applied to any complex fill. This feature is only available for complex fill patterns though, but I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick also. Look, let's go ahead and go in here. Once we've created a complex fill, simply select it. When we come up to fill type, you'll see that you have now standard fill type right over here. By clicking on the down arrow, you now simply have the stippling effect. Click on stippling and click apply. You now have your stipple stitch. Now, you'll see that the stitch length and the stitch density over here in the properties box is now what controls the size. So you know what? Let's change this to a stitch length of 1.4 millimeters. Let's change this to a stitch density of 1 millimeter, and you'll see you'll create an entire new effect simply by clicking on apply. Okay? The stipple stitch that runs in here is amazing. It is based on actual stitch-for-stitch stippling or stitch stippling. Now, stippling, you know what? It's always been called stippling, but I have to tell you, in my family, we always called this the vermicelli stitch. I think it was much more romantic. I tried to get them to call it the vermicelli stitch, but indeed they won out, and we now call it stippling. There has been another wonderful update to the fill stitch. Stippling stitch is a wonderful aspect to those of you that are quilters. You can bring up any design, put up any box behind it. In fact, you know what? I'll show you. Let's go ahead. And one of the things that I love with stipples is that in creating some of the new quilting designs that I'm now working on, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a design. One of my favorite designs is my little tiger design. I use it all the time. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the tiger design. I can bring up the tiger design. I can now take a complex fill. I can go in and create a complex fill. Oops, excuse me. You know what? What I'm going to come down here is come down to the bottom, and I'm going to add another color. Okay? When I add another color, it's in yellow. I'm going to come over here to the color bar, left click. Let's go ahead and just make that red. Left click on it, click OK. You'll see it's red. Right click on it, so I'm selecting the right for the red color. Click on my complex fill. Put a fill stitch behind now. I don't have the exact shape on it, but let's say I'm creating a quilt square. I've got a fill stitch covering everything. At this point in time, you can come over to the sequence view, left click on it, pull it into color number 1 position, put it into color number 1 position. Okay, it's already selected. Select now, select under standard, select my stippling stitch, come in and apply. And I've now created a wonderful quilt panel with stippling stitch behind it. And again, you're in full control of that stippling stitch simply by clicking on it, changing the density. Again, we'll just change it down to 1 here at this point in time. Hit apply. And there you go. You've got a wonderful stipple stitch, a magnificent way to work with quilting. Once again, that was something asked for by our users. And that's something we've now brought to you. So you now have stippling stitch. But a wonderful another effect that we've given you with the fill stitch, and I'll go ahead and create another fill, and we'll just create a fill shape, is we now have just given you also a contour fill shape. Now, traditionally fills work left or right, top or bottom, any direction that you put them in. But now by creating a content fill, the content fill can be applied to any complex fill. This feature, again, is only available for complex fill patterns. Step by step, basically what you do is after the complex fill is created, go ahead and select it, come again into your fill area, simply create, where it says Standard, down-click on the right down arrow, click on Contour, click on Apply, and you'll now see that you have a magnificent contour stitch following. Now, once again, you have control of your density, so I can change that density almost to a solid fill with a 4 density, or excuse me, we'll go ahead and put in here a 0.4 density. And you can create some magnificent complex fills. You also have full control of your stitch length. So those are a couple of really magnificent features. The design library, the remove overlaps, stippling stitch, the contour fill. Kathy, let's go ahead and see if we've got a few questions right now, and then we'll continue to move on.
Great, Walter. My first question is, when we have the design library, can you use it with any format on the market, such as PEZ, DST? We can put any kind of format in that library, correct?
Most formats, yes, Kat.
Yes.
But you can always bring a design into the software, and then, as we always recommend, save the design to a C2S format. Once the design is saved to a C2S format, it can always be put in there. There are several that we're still working on because several of the formats are still, to some extent, proprietary, and we're working through that. But you can indeed save a certain amount of them. DST files, for example, no, you cannot. Bring in a DST file, but simply all you have to do is save it to a C2S format, and then it can be saved into the design library. We are working on that. You will see that as an update in the future.
Great. And how many folders can you have in the library?
You know what's amazing? You can actually create up to 1,000 design folders within the library.
Great. And how many designs can you have in a folder?
You can actually have up to 1,000 designs into any folder that you can create. Something else that I'm very, very proud of. You can select, you can put in an enormous amount of designs into each folder.
And Walter, on your tiger that has the stippling behind it, the question is, can we select our tiger and it will remove that overlap? And I know it will because I've done it.
Yes, you absolutely can. Once again, Kath, what you're going to have to do, and let me see if I can pick this up, what we're going to have to do is select the elements and right-click and just group those together. Okay, and then once that's done, come in and remove the overlaps, and it will remove the stitches down below it. So yes,
fantastic.
And you can remove, you can remove the stitches from down below anything. You know, one thing that I'd like to explain, though, one of the questions that I was asked, and I'd like to go ahead and bring something up, is if a design, because I had been asked, and I was just showing this to a client a few days ago, but I was asked that if you bring up any design, can you take any fill stitch from any format and then change it into our stipple stitch or our contour fill? Now look, that would be a very, very wonderful aspect to bring in, but you know what? Let me see if I can go ahead and open a design here. And I guess I could bring in pretty much anything. Let me see if I've got something here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my little Fun Club logo here, okay? Now, when you bring in the Fun Club logo, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom into just this little area right here, okay? We have an area, I guess I could have come into just like the bottom end. Look, I come into this end, and the background here are fill stitches, all right? Well, look. When it is expanded data, one stitch at a time data, no, you're not able to go into existing data basically and at that point change it into a stipple stitch or a contour stitch. But look at how quick and simple it is with Floriani embroidery software. You can actually at this point in time, and once again, one of the things that I so love about the software is that while you have the software on the screen, existing data, something that's already digitized, we'll add another color down here. And I'm going to come in here and we've got this color. You know what? I'm going to go change this color to just something you can all see. I'll change this to lovely, let's see what we've got. We'll just make it, oh my gosh, purple, okay? We'll just grab a purple color. So I'm going to come in here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my complex fill. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to grab this purple color, and I'm basically going to now just create this shape with a fill stitch. And instead of doing even the satin stitch border, I'll just come in and do fill stitching. So all I'm doing, and one of the greatest things, again, about the software, is that you can have an existing design on there. Very little software allows you to take a design, an existing stitch file, and then click on top of that stitch file and create brand new data. So at this point in time, I can create brand new data. Just create a brand new fill, okay? I'll then come in, I'm going to turn that off. Once I have that on there now, I can now grab that, and I can now turn that into our contour simply by hitting apply. I can simply now come in and turn it into stippling. So you know what? And again, here, let me go ahead and change this down to like a 0.5. We'll change that, and you'll see that you now have the stipple stitch. I think that's amazing. I think the fact that you can intermingle now, that you can take an existing design, something that before could have so little done to it, you can bring it up on the screen. You can literally re-digitize on top of it and now use every one of the new functions and input that into it, either being, again, a contour stitch or, in this case, a stipple stitch. I think that is absolutely amazing. Now, another wonderful feature, well, you know what, let's go. Are there any other questions, Kathy, before I move on?
Yes, when we make these changes, is there going to be a new workbook to reflect these changes?
There is going to be an update to the workbook that will be housed on the website. That release, the workbook is still being worked on. Please understand that the workbook, the instructions for each element will be housed. Let me just go ahead and ask a question. Will those be housed, DJ, on the right under My Floriani Today? Under My Floriani Today, click on it. Under My Floriani Today, in the new release, when you click on new release, let's go ahead and click on that. Up it comes. If you scroll down, you'll see that it's now going to tell you step by step, removing the overlaps, quilting stippling to the stippling stitches. Never waste time creating thread brands. We'll get to that again. Our Save to Sew new features, our new fabric types that we've added on. Yes, everything will be housed on there. Integrating it in to the entire structure of the workbook was going to take a little bit of time. It always does. This is the best that we can bring to you right now. But again, my opinion is that's more than anyone does to date, and I'm very, very proud of that. So it will be on there. It will be added as soon as we possibly can add it on there.
Great. Well, it's time to move on, Walt.
Okay, another thing that I'd like to show, and one of the things, now, this while being brought up by several commercial embroiderers, I thought this was also very, very unique, and this was very, very special for the home embroiderers. We do a lot of editing, and those of you certainly that get involved in digitizing designs, get involved in editing designs. Well, most of the time when we're editing structures that are already digitized, stock embroidery designs. One of the things that happens when you edit stock embroidery designs, and I'm going to go ahead and select just the border on this fill stitch, around this fill stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and come down to our third icon and now click on shape, okay? When I click on shape here now, you're going to see that you get a lot of angle lines. If I right-click on it and I come in and I edit the outlines, you'll see that we get a lot of outline lines. Well, and actually in this case, this design, I could have probably picked a better one, but one of the things when you're working with, when you're editing, existing data, stock embroidery designs, you get an enormous amount of points, an enormous amount of outlines, an enormous amount of angle lines. So one of the things that we've just done is a process now called Simplify. When you now click on any given area to select, or select on any given area to edit, select it. It will turn its appropriate edit color. At this point in time, simply right-click and click on Simplify. When you now click on Simplify and you now come down to the third icon, the shape icon, it is node reduction software. I cannot tell you, my entire life as a digitizer has dreamed of this one function right here. Look, this is what we had. I'm going to jump back to what we had. Those were the nodes that we had. Simply by selecting on that one element and now selecting, right-clicking and selecting Simplify, you now have node reduction software. If I now come in and right-click and I say I want to edit just the outlines, instead of having to move all those blue lines, I simply have to move one line, right-click, and I can change the entire shape of that structure. I cannot tell you how valuable that is as an editing feature within any software. It is the only software currently that has node reduction software. I am very, very proud of that. Of almost any update within this update. I am so excited about that. Again, it just gets so exciting to me to bring to you folks things that you're really going to use. It has always seemed to me that so many of the updates and so many pieces of software are frills and bells, but are they things we use every day? I can't tell you how many times I've opened up stock embroidery designs and have gone in to edit a point, to edit an outline, and to have so many points to so many outline points that it is enormous. It takes forever. I think this fact of simplifying and reducing the nodes has been amazing. Absolutely. I think that is an amazing upgrade to the process. I really do. Okay? A couple of the other things that we've added, and we're kind of getting to the end, but I'd like to talk about several of the things that we've now done to Save to Sew. Save to Sew for me, it had always seemed to be, once again, knowing that when an embroidery design is created, an embroidery design is created for one particular fabric type. Save to Sew, and the beauty of Save to Sew is that you've always been able to go under Save to Sew, pick from, and we built up to 48 different material types where it will determine the proper density, the proper underlay, the proper distortion values, and then it tells you the proper stabilizer to use for any given material that you're running. I am very, very proud to announce tonight that we now have just added on 22 new fabric types. There are now 22 new fabric types added to this update. Cotton lawn, cotton sateen, cotton percale, cotton viol, cotton piqué, cotton linen blend, handkerchief linen, dress weight linen, heavyweight linen, silk linen blend, tissue silk, silk charmeuse, Duchess silk and silk organza, wool crepe, wool chilies, wool gabardine, boiled wool, Hulk calkering, birdseed diaper cloth, moisture wicking fabric, 22 new fabric types. We have selected those fabrics, again, customer request. We have tested them for density. We have tested them for distortion value. We have tested them for the proper underlay. Those are all now part of the new Save to Sew. And probably the greatest highlight is we have also revamped Save to Sew. DJ Anderson and I are responsible for most of the input that goes into the Save to Sew features. And those of you who've worked Embroidery Suite for a while notice that you have seen digitized designs, user digitized designs. Well, you know what? We felt we got a little carried away. So we've revised our Save to Sew feature, making it easier than ever to use. For each fabric type, there are now two options, and I'd like to show those two options to you. File, and under Save to Sew. Under every material type, you now simply have I digitized and I didn't digitize. All you need to know is what fabric type you're sewing onto and if you digitize the design yourself or not. So again, in a case like this, I can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I put this on knit. I did not digitize it. Hit next. Hit apply. It's going to apply the proper density, the proper underlay, the proper full compensation for now over 60 fabric types. There is no software in the world that can control the density, the distortion values, the underlay, and then tell you how to stabilize for 60 different material types. Hit apply and hit yes. Once that green line disappears, hit next. It's going to tell you how to stabilize it. That is fully printable. Hit finish, and boom, that design is now done. It is now ready to stitch on knit. Guaranteed it will. I do not know how much more we can simplify it. It simply got down now to I didn't digitize and I digitized. These are the highlights of the new software updates. Kathy, I'd like to take any questions, but basically, again, in review, what I'd like to tell you is that you now get a brand new design library. You get the remove overlaps for merging designs, the stippling stitch, the contour fill, the simplifying feature, 22 new fabric types, revamp Save to Sew, and I've got to tell you one other highlight that I just almost passed over is, and I'm not going to show you all of it, but I'd like to now tell you about that you now also have the ability to have your own thread chart creator. The thread chart creator will allow you to create your own custom thread chart. So you know what? While I would love you all to be using my Floriani polyester thread, at this point, it doesn't matter what thread you use. If you want a thread chart that contains different threads within it, you now can create your own thread chart. The instructions will be posted. They're very, very simple. So the fact is, if you're now using Floriani polyester and you're using Madeira rayon and you're using some Robeson Anton polyneon, you now can create your own thread charts dedicated to the threads that you use and the threads that you love to use. Once again, something that is good for the industry, that is good for the user on it. I'm very, very proud of the thread chart creator. It is the newest update. I'm not that skilled on it to demonstrate it to you really at that time, but it is amazing. It is fully workable. Mr. Floriani just has to spend a little more time on that one. Let's go ahead and go through any other questions, Kathy. If there are no more questions, those are the new updates to the Floriani Embroidery Suite. It's something I'm very, very proud of. I'm very, very proud of our team. I cannot tell you once again what it is to be affiliated with a company like R&K Distributing, someone who believed in my family dream of bringing people software that they will use. Not that they just own, but that software that they will use every day in every way. I hope you've all enjoyed that. If there's any other questions, Kath, I'd love to take them. If not, we're pretty much done, huh?
Well, Walt, I do have one question. It doesn't have a thing to do with what we've done today, but somebody asked, I guess when you're going through the pattern types, what is a split satin?
A split satin, Kath, when you do a split satin, satin stitches, and it can be done in a couple different ways, but satin stitches can only grow to a certain length before they need to. It's like this. When you make a satin stitch much wider than 7 or 8 millimeters, the satin stitch really needs to be a fill stitch. Well, one of the things that you can do within the software is when you enlarge a design, and let's say you enlarge a design and the maximum satin stitch width in that design is already 6 millimeters, and you double the size of it. By going to now 12 millimeter satin stitches, those satin stitches will not work as satin stitches. They should be fill stitches, or you can do them as split satins. Basically what it means is that about every 7 millimeters the needle is going to drop. It's going to split the satin stitch so that the length of it is not too long, so it will not work. satin stitch gets above a certain stitch length, it either needs to be another stitch type, fill stitch, or it needs to conform to the maximum stitch length of a satin stitch, which is 7 to 8 millimeters in length.
Thank you so much. Well, that is the last question we have on here tonight, and I want to remind everyone, go to our website for individual details on how to use these new features, because we know you're absolutely going to love them, because we sure do.
You know what, Kat? Again, I would like to say that we have done, and this is now, I believe, our 8th or 9th update, maybe more, into the software. Of all the updates that we've released, this culmination of updates is more what our users have asked for than anything. And you know what? I charted it. My whole life as a software user, I had always put in requests to software companies that I work with of what I'd like to see software do. In one quick swoop, we have added more in this one update right here than I have ever seen any other piece of software ever add to software. I cannot tell you how proud I am of that. That is the Floriani distance. It is a wonderful time to be part of the Floriani embroidery software family. The question wasn't asked, but I think one that probably should have been asked is when this update is going to be available. And I'm going to ask the question right now, and I believe this update has now been output today. So if you turned on your software today and either you waited for it to prompt you, or you go under help and check for updates, you'll see I have the latest version. It will now tell you that this version is right now ready to download, and the instructions are already online of how to use every function. But
you know the best part? It didn't cost them another penny. All of our updates are free, and that is one of our best and most wonderful features of Floriani software, is we never charge you for an update.
Miss Kathy, you just put the biggest smile on my face. Look, folks, I would like to thank, once again, every one of you that use Floriani embroidery software. You have all made the difference. I would like to thank every Floriani educator on the software, because again, as I've always said, while this may be Floriani software, this is also Kathy Quinn software, and it's Darlene Pollard software, and it's DJ Anderson software. Every one of you educators have as much to do with this as I have. It has been a work in progress. While it may bear my name, it's all of ours, and I'm just as proud of that as anything else. And I am so proud of our moderators, those of you that sit there every day and work our list and sit there and answer all these questions. Without you moderators, I don't do what you do. And please understand, folks, the moderators on our list are users of our software who believe in it enough, who want to give their time and their own effort to spread the word about Floriani software. Never in the history of embroidery software has it been such a family, affected process. I am so proud of all of you. Thank you for all being members of my Floriani family of software users. Hugs and stitches to you all, and I can't wait to see you all next time.
Thank you so much for coming to the webinar. We really appreciate y'all coming and watching our webinar. We hope you've picked up some new tips tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. And we're going to say good night and thanks to all.